All right, I'm back in.
You're back.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. No, I realized when I meant to minimize you, and I exited out of it as well. So,
well, the problem I was facing was I had my Google Hangouts in a login on Firefox and also in Chrome, and in Firefox it's not compatible for some sort of reason. So I needed to like close out of that, then answer on this one, but I kept missing the call before I could get back in. Now, this is what I'm afraid about, though, is that link might be different from the one I posted in the discussion.
but that's the one I gave you.
It is? It's the same one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I just was concerned that if we create a new event, that it would change the Google Hangouts link. Do you know what I mean? Because that was our previous one was like see if you can just copy and paste that link to me and to my email, and then I can compare the links together and see if.
You want me to send you the one in the discussion or send you the one I have now?
No, send me the one that, like, if you're looking at the Google Hangout screen right now.
I think I'm on the live, right? I'm on YouTube.
Yes, wherever you were, where you can invite people.
I can do that right on the screen that I'm on.
Okay, is there a link there in addition to the invite?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna post it in.
Okay, yeah, just do that.
Maybe I can check there. So.
And you can keep us live the whole time. It's no big deal for a couple minutes late from 2:30.
All right, so the YouTube stream link is different, though, from the Google Hangout. Does that matter?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, because someone will just should be able to just click on that YouTube link and just watch a live stream of our discussion.
All right.
If they want to participate, they would click on the Google Hangout link. I just want to make sure that the Google Hangout link is the same as the one we were using a little bit earlier.
Okay. So how am I going to figure that one out then?
Are you able to see a Google Hangout link from like your screen from Google Hangouts right now?
No, because when I go to links, it's the YouTube one. I'm not on Google Hangouts anymore.
Okay. All right, then that should be fine. We should be okay. Because we're still just kind of relatively new to it. So
hold on, let me go back. So I'm on my, I wonder if I go back to. Just remember how I gave you that link. There's so much, like so many steps to remember.
I know.
Was it under edit now? I'm trying to remember how I got that link initially to give it to you, because.
Right. Well, I'm thinking like whenever you hit go live now, and then it brought you up to like where you can see me and I can see you. Up at the top somewhere, it should have said like invite, and then right above there, it should have the link to the Hangouts that said like bookmark and everything like that.
There it is. Yep. My bad. All right, I'm just gonna copy and paste it into a.
Yeah, I would just say
discussion that I'll see what you. Let's look to compare what you posted.
Yeah, you can just say if the first link doesn't work, please check out this Google Hangouts, link. That's fine.
No, you might be right, actually.
Does it look different?
Yeah, my bad. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
It would have been one way to make sure no one shows.
Yeah. No, I think we're okay either way. And I think that's a part of the process is we now know, like we just learned, okay, whenever we create a new event, it is going to give us a different Google Hangouts link. So it's really no big deal.
All right. So I just posted that.
Okay. Excellent. Cool. And then you can post the YouTube link now, or we can do that later. It's not.
I already did that. I took care of that one.
Perfect. Okay, then we can probably start our discussion. It's a little after 2:30, so we're right on schedule. See if anybody joins us in our discussion. So okay. Well, just to kick it off, obviously this is our Wilkes instructional media class, 514. If I can keep it straight, Internet Tools for Teaching. I'm Shaun Ulmer. I teach at Boiling Springs High School, and you are?
I am Erika Gamble. I teach at Tamden Middle School as well. Classmate of Shaun's here in this course.
Awesome. So the first thing I guess we're going to talk about is the Horizon Report to cover the Unit 6 discussion. Erika, not to put you on the spot, but what did you think of the Horizon Report overall?
The setup of the report, it was amazing. I thought, like you and I discussed previously as well, that the blue text gave you a great little synapse of what was to come, even better, even more concise than the overview. And in terms of when you think about what's out on the horizon, I was pretty happy to see myself doing some of these ideas, or at least our school or district having discussions for some of those ideas as well. For instance, like makerspaces clubs are really getting popular in our schools. We use virtual reality, the Google Cardboard. Kids love robotics. So in terms of a lot of the things that they did discuss, I felt that we are either doing already in our school, in a school district, or we are thinking about, talking about. So.
Yeah, I agree. I thought one of the big things, one of the things I liked and I would have mentioned in the written discussion is about how schools, like how much is spent on construction of like, renovations or building new schools and everything, and how our schools thinking about redesigning the classrooms to meet 21st century learning, because a lot of them seem to still fit, according to the Horizon Report, a lot of them still seem to kind of fit the traditional classroom that you might have seen 100 years ago, and I think some schools are doing a good job of that. I think it's like a lot more accepting now of like, we want our computer labs to look this way. We want an elementary school classroom or high school classroom to look this way. And they have different features. But I thought that was an interesting part to just some of those things in education where our schools and our educators, administrators, school board members thinking about all these things for the years to come.
It's interesting that you brought that up, because I actually spent some time last night on Edutopia, that site, looking at some ideas for how to redesign your classrooms, putting in like a makerspace area, putting in digital media area. And as a science teacher in a science classroom, I'm thinking, how am I going to do that? I've got these monstrosity of tables And typically the tables are up against, they're in a lab setting, but they're up against the counter. So the counter space is kind of even taken away. So I'm trying to think about creative ways to even set up the classroom where it's more inviting to some of those ideas that they talked about in the Horizon report. So as a business teacher, are you in more of a computer lab setting, or do you have a classroom setting?
Yeah, so it's interesting. In our high school department, there's me and 2 other teachers, and all of our rooms are connected, actually. Like, we're in the corner of a part of our high school building on the first floor, and all of our rooms, like, we have doors that connect to the other rooms, and they all are computer labs. But recently we've gone one-to-one. You know, we have student laptops, especially. It rolled out first with the high school, now the middle school, and now getting to the elementary schools. But the big thing with one-to-one is we've really been focusing on blended learning and just flipped classroom stuff. And one of the big things that they did encourage us within the computer labs to do is rearrange our actual computer lab space. So most of us now have, instead of like your traditional rows of computer labs,
right,
we now have like some that are smaller rows where, you know, if we need some sort of formal instruction to be done, that can be done. But in addition to that, we have them set up where they're almost like in stations, where they're like a square station where 4 people are working in groups with these desktop computers in the computer lab. We were miraculously, with like very little cost, just maybe adding some wires and, you know, this and that, we were able to do those kind of things. So that was really, really good with us. But yeah, so we've really been encouraged to do that as a business department and having desktop computer labs within our department.
You mentioned one-to-one. So in our district is piloting it this year. So it's just one middle school, 7th grade that's getting them. However, we're also piloting, we got a lot going on. We're also piloting Canvas. Well, I know you and I are going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
And through that, if you're a teacher piloting Canvas, you're getting laptops one-to-one. So that's great. So that's going to help me out a lot, I think, in terms of creating those spaces and the kids just being more digitally ready.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see just where things go with just like design of classrooms. But I think the Horizon report also made just great points. Like, I thought everything that was mentioned in it, and like you said, those little blue sections were crucial, because it gave me like a great idea in not reading page after page after page and being like, okay, what's their main point? And I was quickly able to relate any of these things. Like, I really even liked the one that was about advancing digital equity, like about how kids don't have high-speed internet. Like, some kids, when they go home, they don't have high-speed internet, but they're given laptops or tablets and this and that. It's like, what do you do for those, you know, students? So I thought they just brought up a lot of good points that need to be addressed, and there's some sort of plan of action or implementation phases included in the report.
I thought, I know for our discussion, they asked us to talk as well about like some of the adoption phases in 4 to 5 years. And I think the wearable technology is a cool aspect for you and I to talk about, because from a science standpoint, it's very scientifically oriented. But from a business standpoint with your classes, I think there's a lot to be done with that as well. So if you want to start that off, and I can chime in from the science.
Yeah, sure. Well, I really liked reading about the wearable technologies and was glad to see that it was in there. One of the things I like the most about wearable technologies is, like, I've noticed the most this year, and obviously because they're becoming a little more prevalent and more consumer accessible, they're becoming Christmas gifts for these kids. You know, you always usually see the latest iPhone or the latest Air Jordans or something that they're wearing, but now it's starting to become, oh, they got like the Apple like watch, you know, the latest watch from Apple, something like that, or they got the latest Fitbit or the shoes or whatever that track and monitor mileage and steps and everything. So the watches seem to be the very popular thing, and it's amazing what they can do. It's almost scary what they can do. But just to add to that real quick about wearable technologies, in my entrepreneurship class, we spend the second half of the semester basically working on business plans. And I've noticed a huge trend in what the kids pick. Like in the years past, they used to pick a product that they really liked, or they picked a service like, oh, I want to start like a coffee shop cafe in town or something like that. Some of the ideas now for these products for the business plans are, these ideas of wearable technologies and advanced technologies that would fit under this description. So like what type of glasses that like could be designed that people could drive with, and everything. And it sounds dangerous, but like the kids are thinking about it and they're being the creators in all these different ideas of it. So I just think it's really cool because you see the kids thinking about it and wanting to create this, and this is something that is in that 4 to 5 year time frame. So but yeah, anything to add with that?
Yeah, well, it's funny that you talked about the watches because that's a definite trend we see in our building or in our district itself as well. And it's just one of those things where, you know, we have a cell phone policy, but we don't have a watch policy. And we wonder, is that going to come down the road? Is it necessary? Is it needed? So I just think the more that the kids receive these and get these as gifts, that's where kind of some of those issues are going to come into concern is, do we need to have a policy or parameters or guidelines regarding the watches? I have a watch. I love it. I didn't ask for it. I got it as a gift, and I was surprised how much you do kind of, I don't want to say rely on it, but how useful it can be or the different ways in which you can use it. So it's a cool aspect from that. In terms of the science standpoint of the wearable technologies, I mean, there are so many cool things going on around the world, not just, you know, wearing a cool watch and being told it's time to breathe and those kinds of things. But a lot of them have third world application as well. We've done a lot of research with the kids where they're wearing electronic clothing wearables in third world countries, but that wearing that is then generating electricity that they don't have. So it's some really cool applications. One of the requirements for my 8th grade science classes, advanced class, they have to do a science fair topic. And we're starting to see more and more of these ideas of wearable technology coming in to their science fair projects. Common popular one is the whole idea about footsteps and tracking, but then converting that to energy or electricity. Here in Philly, Drexel University, big engineering school, they've done a lot of work where their gym that they have for the kids is actually generates electricity for the university.
Wow.
So I think a lot of the kids hear that often, and then they want to see, well, how can we do it? So I've had kids who've done, you know, how many steps do you have to take before you can generate enough electricity to charge their phone? Or does the force of your steps going to change the electricity that you've generated? So it's some really cool concepts I think that the kids are coming up with. And I think, you know, when we pull in that creativity aspect of it, it really helps them to kind of open up their thinking to it and where it can go in the future.
Well, and that's what I was kind of hinting at too, and I might have said already, but what I love the most is like the entrepreneurial spirit with it, you know, that like even in science, how can they relate science to creating or thinking of different ways of how it can be practical to one's life? You know, how can it help them, or how can it change and develop and grow and prosper? So yeah, the wearable technologies, like we agreed, I mean, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, all that stuff is there. But the wearable technologies I thought was the most interesting topic to really kind of discuss within the report.
And I think from a standpoint of the background knowledge or the you know, the technological knowledge that they need, the kids I think can relate to that a little bit more than they can AI. Virtual reality, you know, you've got to have the goggles, you got to have the wears for it, as you do for wearable technology. But I think it kind of really limits. Like I said, we have the Google Cardboard. The kids really do love them.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to be careful. It's kind of like Kahoot. You know, you can only do it so many times and it loses its draw and its impact. So I think the wearable technology is going to be such an evolving technology piece that it's always going to be changing. And I think from the standpoint that the kids get to wear it and interact with it is where the draw is with the students.
Yeah. And just to go back to the virtual reality real quick, in my online education class I'm taking through Wilkes right now, using technology for assessment, we had a unit where it really did focus on virtual reality. And I said, I really like the concepts of virtual reality or like online simulation games and stuff. But my biggest issue with it right now is that it just seems to be in such a phase where it only focuses on math, science, history. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it doesn't really extend to, I'm sure you can incorporate other subjects within those, but it doesn't, like if you were in art class, how is virtual reality going to apply to an art class or a music class or a business class, you know what I mean? Or a family consumer science class like advanced foods or something. So it's just going to be interesting to see where that takes off, because right now it just seems to be like core content, type classes that it's really its focus.
I would agree with that. There's a lot for social studies. There's a lot for science. We've done tours of the solar system. Seventh grade, they study cells so they can go inside a cell. I think there are ways you could use it in the specials, but you want it to go beyond just kind of like a virtual field trip experience, because that would be easy to do in that context. They could go to a museum and look at different artwork. They could go sit inside a symphony and listen to it, but how is that experience different than watching something on YouTube or looking at images itself? So I think that's kind of what you're saying, that how can it be used beyond just a virtual field trip kind of look?
Absolutely. Cool. Well, do you want to switch our discussion over to talking about learning management systems and specifically Canvas?
Great.
It's cool to connect with people through these classes that have Canvas, like that they're using Canvas, because when some people say, oh, I'm using Edmodo or I'm using Schoology, that's great. But it's like, I know that they're all very similar, but like when you say I'm using Canvas, I know pretty much what Canvas does have to offer. But what are some of your questions possibly with Canvas?
Right. So I went to one workshop for like half a day in the beginning of the summer to kind of get an overview of it. So, school year's getting ready to get started up. I really need to kind of give that some thought and direction. So I guess one of my questions to you was, how did you find when you first started using it, what was the easiest way to kind of get going with it? The district is encouraging us to do less is more to start off with until we get caught with it.
So we were lucky in the fact that, I was lucky in the fact that I was actually at the capital area intermediate unit with a bunch of other districts that were interested in Canvas. So I got to see like a very detailed presentation of it, which was overwhelming at first. But when our district purchased Canvas, we rolled it out at the high school. Like we literally had phases, like almost like how we see the 2 to 3 year type plans and the 4 to 5 year type plans and everything within the Horizon report. There were phases. So for instance, phase 1 was like high school, administer, Canvas to the high school and everything like that, and see what happens with them and how they can do it. And basically what we were told was, we need to pick at least one class. Like one class, you need to have your Canvas page, like, create a class within Canvas, and one class needs to be set up in this LMS. So it wasn't overwhelming some of those teachers that have taught for 25, 30, 35 years. And some of them aren't good with technology. Like they're afraid to even use, like, the smartboard technologies. So using an LMS is like a big deal for some of them. But what I found was like, I just went in all of my classes. I signed all of them up because I wasn't sure how I was going to use the Canvas, like for certain classes. For instance, I might use Canvas a lot with my 10th grade students in careers, but maybe very little in my accounting class. That's mostly 11th and 12th grade. So what I did is I just built assignments and things to build into my lessons using Canvas wherever I saw fit. So I did obviously pick one class to meet like our administrators, like, rules or expectations with this. So I focused on, let's just say it was entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship was the class I really focused on. And I really just explored, okay, how do I create assignments? How do I build quizzes? And, administer test questions and stuff like that. How do I do discussion posts and everything? But the biggest thing that I found to help me is, as each year goes by, it gets easier. It's just like teaching. It's almost like you're teaching all over again, and you're just putting all of your lessons and your ideas into this learning management system, but you can constantly build. So for instance, there's something within Canvas, it's called modules.
Right.
And the nice thing about modules is like you can literally set up your class in units. And this is great. I know that like our math department loves it because the AP stats teacher or the AP calc teacher can put everything in her AP course perfectly organized into the Canvas LMS in her course. And what I have found that works for me, and it doesn't work for everyone, is I liked the first year just building assignments and doing things week to week. And then the following year, looking at, okay, what did I build from this course? And now let me build modules. Like what did I create in this course, like quizzes, assignments, things like that. But then use those modules to like organize all of my materials. So say for instance, in accounting chapter 1, oh, I did a quiz in chapter 1, but I still did a paper-based thing on this. Well, let me build something in the LMS this time that isn't paper-based, to assess.
Right.
So that worked for me because it was like, okay, I actually did a lot more in Canvas in this class than I thought I did. But then that second year was like, okay, this is where I can now build, where you're eventually going to almost have your whole class online. But
I think for you, it was probably having so many different courses a little bit more challenging. So for me this year, I'm going to have 4 classes of 8th grade, all the same. They're all advanced, and 1 class of 7th grade. So for the 8th grade, I figure that's kind of like that's a no-brainer, because what I do for 1 will be the same for each of those different sections. So that's good to hear, because I was wondering, did you, which modules did you use? It sounded like you used the assignments. When you listed, were the assignments more of a list, or is there a calendar option there?
There is. So with assignments, like I can't remember everything off the top of my head. I'd have to look. What's nice about the assignments is that you can attach like Word documents and different things like PDF files, websites, and everything. And you could have like an 8-step thing for the assignment. So say you want them to do a web quest and you're going to make it an assignment. You can create a web quest. You can have this site. You can have them open up this Word document and answer the questions, and then submit that Word document back to that assignment. And you can set due dates. Like you can have it open on this date at this exact time, and you can have it closed at this exact time and have the due date in between that, or whatever you want to do. And it's nice having that feature. Like the assignments is ultimately what I use it the most for, because I used to use Dropbox. I used to use my website. Canvas is just easy now because like the kids know how to log in. A lot of the teachers are now using it. So they have, instead of visiting 4 teachers' sites that day, they literally visit these courses, within Canvas. And it's a lot easier for them. It might get repetitive for them. I feel like it does at times, where they're like, oh, we're using Canvas again for an assignment. But it's just eventually going to be where the kids aren't going to like know anything.
The different, right? Yeah. And it's interesting that you guys start from the high school and worked your way down. So at our school, elementaries the kids have laptops. They're classroom based, so the kids aren't issued them. But then we're starting with 7th grade, going 1-to-1, and working our way up. And the same with, it's just middle school teachers with Canvas for right now. And then as those kids will move up to high school, then as we roll it out for the high school teachers then as well. I really like that idea about the assignments, because currently we have Office 365. Which had in OneNote, is kind of some similar options to Canvas in terms of sharing, but they get confused about how to post things to OneNote. They think they have to share it with you or send it to you. And then even just sharing, that floods your inbox, your mail, your Outlook inbox. So I'm excited for that component of Canvas
And one thing to add real quick, just because I was thinking about it, you said that you teach the same class, right? Like it's just different sections, but it's the same content, same class. So the biggest fear for some teachers that have that kind of setup, they're like, well, does that mean I'm going to have to like create 5 different courses and add the content every time? No, it's really easy. Like I wouldn't be able to like tell you off the top of my head, and it would probably confuse you anyway if I tried to tell you. But honestly, it's so easy. You could actually have everybody sign up for let's just say it's like 8th grade science, right? And it's called 8th grade science. Everyone would register that is in 8th grade that have you as a teacher. They would literally enroll in your course. And then you can go into, I think it's like called students or people, and you can go in and you can actually make sections. So if you have like 3rd period, 4th period, 5th period, and 7th and 8th period or something like that every day, you can literally identify sections within it and then assign quizzes, assignments, and everything like that all within that course.
That's great.
It's pretty awesome. So instead of assigning a quiz at 8 in the morning and everybody has the opportunity to see it then, it's like you can literally assign that quiz at 8 in the morning for block 1, or period
Right.
1, and then assign it the same exact quiz, but have it be for 12:30 that afternoon or 1:15 that afternoon or whatever it is that day. So
when you think about the title of it, right, learning management system, it sounds just that it really lets you manage. Once you learn the tricks of the trade, it's really
it does. And I would say the biggest thing is that there's a lot of front loading with it. And it goes back to my point of, I feel as though it's aspects of like student teaching all over again, writing lessons all over again when you're in your first and second year, because you're now taking tests and you're changing them to meet this like learning management system, online learning, individualized learning ideas. But what's cool is like the instant feedback is unbelievable, and you can collect data on the kids.
Yeah, that looked really, really neat.
Yeah, especially with I call them SLOs, but SLOs,
right?
Those student learning objectives. I've literally printed out data from tests or quizzes that I've had the kids do that was a part of my SLO, and I've submitted that. It's just like there's so many different things that you can do with it now, and it's all included in like the learning management system. It doesn't cost anything and everything like that. So the big things like glitches, or not glitches, but the things that I see that sometimes hold teachers or students back is there is like content upload like size. Like there's only a maximum size of like you can only put so many videos on Canvas, and you can only put so many files on Canvas and everything like that. Me personally, I've never experienced an issue with that, but some teachers have.
Do you put videos up?
Yeah, some people embed like videos within like an actual lesson. Like
right. Have you done that or have you not experienced any issues because you haven't really used the video component?
I've never done it. I always will like have them watch the video through the smartboard and then complete the assignment, just because I don't want to get in a situation where I have used too much memory within my Canvas profile or something. And I
wonder too if you couldn't, depending upon what the video source is, but if you provided a link on the assignment or in the LMS, that would be one way to get it. Since the kid, especially if the kids have one-to-one.
Yeah. Yeah. And
you can use the link rather than uploading the video and like you said, tearing into your memory.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oftentimes though, I use YouTube or find something from YouTube, and that's where I run into the issue, as we discussed before we started this discussion, of like some schools don't allow YouTube, for their students to access. So it's fine if they're home and they have access to YouTube, but during the school hours, sometimes it's like, well, I really want them to watch this YouTube video and then do this assignment or do, this discussion, but that's where I run into issues with it. So, but other than that though, it's been very reliable. I never lost data. You can actually then import. The other cool thing is too, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but like the following year, like you're going to use Canvas this year, and then say for instance, you really liked all the content you had in that course, you don't have to recreate the content again for like the following year. You can import content into the course and it's all there, and then you can just build from there on your.
And I think too, if I have multiple sections of the same course, if I build one, I think I can import that into the others.
Yeah, yeah, you should. I don't know if it'll keep your sections. What I mean?
Well, that might change from year to year anyways, but.
Yeah, because it might delete like all those students and delete the section names and stuff like that. But overall though, like it's really good. I guess the only other negative that I have experienced is just be careful when you are using Google, like the Google Suite, anything with docs or slides or sheets or anything like that. I've had issues where kids submit a Google Slides presentation. There's a tab within Canvas called Google Docs, and they can submit literally a Google Docs like link. And it's supposed to pull right up when you're in SpeedGrader. SpeedGrader is literally the grade book through Canvas, and it's really easy to use. But sometimes the kids confuse like a Google Slides presentation with Google Docs, and it skews their images. Like it'll do something weird. It'll download it as a PowerPoint and then skew their images and stuff. Like it'll shift their images over text. And it's like, so just be aware of that like website URL, if they're sharing something to you, like a Google Slides presentation, they should always use, from my experience, they should always use the website URL tab for their submission rather than Google Docs.
Okay.
So that's the one glitch. But I know I'm getting ahead of myself because you're like, I'm so used to this. I've been using it for 2 years. So I get excited about it because it's like I know the ins and outs of it pretty well.
Do you use the discussion piece, the discussion module at all for blogging?
I have. The biggest thing that I've used the discussion piece for is when the kids watch some sort of movie. For instance, I always show in my accounting class and my law class, Catch Me If You Can, with Leonardo DiCaprio and like all the other big names in there, Tom Hanks. But anyway, I use it for that. Anytime they watch a movie in my class, I like them to reflect upon how did this movie reflect like real life things people do or things that we've discussed in this class. And then they have to comment on each other. Also field trips. I don't do a lot of field trips, but like we go on a law field trip to the courthouse, Cumberland County Courthouse. They have to write a reflection upon what were their experiences like. How did it connect to the class? How did this change their thoughts about the law or like, you know, courtroom procedures, things like that, anything that I can relate to it. And honestly, the more authentic the experiences are for the kids, I feel like that's what makes good discussions. If you just tell them to read an article, you know what I mean, and then write a discussion about it, they fly through the article. They don't really read like most of them won't read the article. They'll read like the first 2 paragraphs and act like they know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? And like you can almost, and they do a pretty good job of it, but you know, it's just one of those weird things where you do need to be careful about what you do with discussions. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, but just from my experience, I don't know if it's the way I roll it out, but discussions are only valuable for me for certain things.
That's a really good, valid point.
Yeah, so it's more the more authentic of an experience, like a field trip, anything like that, the better your discussions will be, and I feel like the kids will be able to like express themselves. So yeah, but overall though, I'm glad to hear you guys have Canvas. I hope we keep it. One of the biggest concerns with our teachers at our school, some of them are like on this like Google Classroom like train where they're like, we should be using Google Classroom. It's free and it has like all the same capabilities as Canvas. And they're afraid that like if we use Canvas, that they're going to eventually just like terminate it if they're thinking about what can we cut in schools, you know, in terms of cost. And they're afraid to like put 4 or 5 years of work in on a Canvas, you know, like on all their courses. And then all of a sudden it's just going to disappear. So I don't think it'll happen, but who knows, you know, so we'll see what happens. But other than that, though, I can't think of anything else. Like, you'll be fine. And you seem to be pretty tech savvy as is. We were able to somehow get onto a Google Hangout and stream it on YouTube. So I think we'll be okay, and you'll be okay with Canvas and everything.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate you sharing what your experiences were and what you knew from it. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So I can't think of anything else. Can you?
No, I think we covered a lot for the Horizon report. We shared you shared the ideas you have for Canvas for me. So I think our discussion is wrapping up here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm anxious to check out this YouTube link, see if it works and see how long. I mean, I think we're like going on like a
half an hour, I think.
So that's pretty good. We said we were only going to talk for 15 or 20 and it ended up being a half hour. So that's good.
Yep.
So,
perfect.
Cool. All right, Erica. Well, it was great doing this project with you and everything like that. I'm going to test out those links, but, you know, best of luck and everything like that. I'm sure I'll keep in touch with you these next 2 weeks, but.
Absolutely, Shaun. Thanks for working with me. Thanks for figuring out all the technology together.
Yeah, sure thing.
And good luck with the last 2 weeks of your classes as well.
Hey, thanks. You do the same. Enjoy the beach this weekend.
Yep. Enjoy Florida.
Oh, I will.
All right.
All right. See ya.